Hey everyone, it's Melanie of Art Studio 320 and I'm here with a new project. It's a really cool one. I'm very excited to get started on it. It's Sunday, but it's sunny and I'm raring to go. It's going to need a really good cleaning and a really good sanding. I've got some ideas, but I don't want to reveal it yet because it really depends on what I find while I'm cleaning and while I'm sanding. There's a couple nicks in the drawers that could be a bit of an issue, but I don't think it's too much that I can't handle it to do what I want to do. That's all I'm going to say. If you haven't subscribed yet, please take a moment and press that red button. You can follow me on Instagram and you can find me on Etsy, where I sell some of my past projects that I've done right here on my channel. Stick around. I used my 1-to-1 ratio vinegar and water to clean up this piece, or at least I started with vinegar and water. This was a very dirty piece. It had been sitting in a dark, dank, and moldy basement, I'm guessing, because it was moldy. It had water damage. I needed a brush to clean it off, and I even put a mask on to protect my lungs from all those moldy particles. Just want to show you, this is how thin the veneer is. That's a big bummer, because that's really going to impact what I do with this piece. We'll figure it out. Each drawer needed attention, needed to be cleaned, had to get the hardware off of there. They were very moldy, unfortunately. And the drawers themselves weren't too bad as far as dirt was concerned, but they were all very splintery. So I had to make lots of repairs. I used 120 grit on my sander because I was concerned about the thinness of the veneer. I didn't want to go through. The dovetail joints on these drawers were mostly separated, so I glued them all back together and then sanded them down really nicely. Because this piece was so old, I just went through all of the drawers, made some repairs, sanded all of the bottom parts, the top parts, just sanded everything because I got a few splinters. There were a lot of things that needed to be repaired, like things like this. Just little pieces of veneer that had popped off, especially on the drawers and the sides. I needed to line up all of my drawers together in the order that they will go back into the chest of drawers, because that's the way I was going to create my design. But first, I wanted to put some varathane wood conditioner on this very, very thirsty wood. I mean, it's 101 years old, so you can imagine. I let that soak in, and it was just transparent. It doesn't color the wood at all. And then I went to work with creating my design. I'm using the center line to create a symmetrical design. That means it's the same on both sides. And really, the creative process is up to you. I'm using a respirator while I'm using these stains. I actually used 4 different stains. I was trying to get this triangle dark enough to cover up those blotches. The respirator was to keep me from getting a headache because all of these stains really smell a lot. I'm putting coffee on here. I thought this would be dark enough, but what I didn't realize is the darker I went, the blotchier it became. More on that later. I used the black to cover over that because I really was trying to get to a blackish color, and that came into play later as well. I have a ceramic tool that I use for clay. I was trying desperately to figure out how to get rid of these blotchy areas. There was grain, and I thought there was something stuck in there from the stripper. They didn't work. The mineral spirits didn't work either. Now, when you're creating a design like this with stain, it's a good idea to start with the dark colors first, because when you go back with the lighter colors, you can actually bump right up against the dark colors without tape, and you don't have to worry about making mistakes as much. But you always have mineral spirits to fix your mistakes, like I'm doing right here with a little Q-tip and mineral spirits. I'm going to say that the mold and mildew remover that I was using was working based on the gross brown gook at the bottom of the chest of drawers. This had a lot of chips out of it. I sanded down every inch of it because there were so many splintered spots. And the veneer was chipped, and it just took a lot of plastic wood X to repair everything, but I think I got them all, if not all of them, enough that you can't see them. I hope. I wanted to update you and let you know the decisions I've made, the problems I've solved before we go any further, and it's just easier to do it face to face, so to speak. I decided to take a cue from the Art Deco period, which is 1920s, or started in the 1920s, went on beyond that, because this piece is really an oddball. I have done a ton of research and have come up with very little, if nothing, really. I can't find another piece out there that's even similar to this one. I mean, I found knobs. I mean, those knobs are huge. I mean, they are so big. They take up a lot of space on that drawer, and they're very cool, and I wish I could save them, but unfortunately they are damaged. While it is a loss, and I know some of you might not be happy with me, but I made a creative choice, and I am trying to honor the time period that it was built. So I'm hoping that you will all forgive me. I decided to use an Art Deco style of knob. They are larger than normal, but they aren't that big. The shapes that I decided to use are also a common design on an Art Deco piece. Now, it's, mind you, it's my take on it, but it is keeping with that period. I used 3 different kinds of stripper. The original one was the green stuff that creates a shell, and it's such a mess. Then I used the citrus strip, and I was almost out of it. So I decided to go to the store. I was going to get more citrus strip and decided to get a different kind, which is the same brand as the green stuff, but it was a spray form, so it was kind of a gel. Well, that turned out not to be so great either. Such a mess. Through the stripping process, I had this feeling that something wasn't right. Every drawer looked different, and I was concerned about that because I was staining them, not painting them. And obviously that's the whole reason why I went this route, was because I wanted to have the stain just really enrich this wood, because there's some really cool lines going through it, which was going to enhance my Art Deco design. I decided to do the top drawer because that was the most damaged. I started staining. I knew I wanted to use a black stain or a very dark stain. It wasn't covering some of these areas. Now, that's going to happen sometimes. Stain reacts differently on wood. This veneer was a very strange veneer. It had this very strange grain. The stain was not covering all areas, so I kind of assumed that maybe I had sanded so much, not through the veneer, but I'd sanded enough that something happened to the grain. I don't know. And I thought that maybe the stripper got into the grain and just was resisting the stain. I don't know. I look at the veneer on the rest of the piece and I see all of those same lines. Something happened during the sanding process. I'm not so sure that my original idea that it was the stripper is true. I think perhaps that it might have been something about the veneer and just the process of sanding it. I honestly can't tell you what it is, but I came up with a solution today. This is a wood finish solid color stain. So it's opaque, meaning you can't see through it. It's not transparent. It is called espresso, which means it's almost black, and that's what I want. And I'm hoping the area at the very top, on the top drawer, there's a triangle, and you saw me do it. It's stained and it's blotched, blotchy. And I'm hoping that if I put this on and it covers it nicely, I'm happy with that. That's okay. And I will proceed to use this on the sides and the top of the piece. The top of the piece and the sides I worked on yesterday. It is ready to paint, but I don't want to paint it. I cannot stain it with a transparent or semi-transparent stain because there are so many repairs on this piece. It would look terrible because the semi-transparent is going to show all of those spots that I repaired. Yes, it does stain it, but you can still see it, especially if there are a lot of them. Now, you can do things to hide it, but it wouldn't work. I know because it didn't work on that small triangle. Cross your fingers and let's get started and let's see what happens. Stick around. Well, I gave this wood finish a try. It was what I was talking about. I had high hopes. I tried it right here, and as you can see, it is not opaque. You can see through that. I can see the wood. But I kept trying. The thing about this is it was sticky, and overall, I give it a big thumbs down. I really didn't like it, at least not for this project. Yeah, kind of disappointing. I was, however, successful in covering those blotches after all. I ended up wiping off the wood finish that I just showed you because I didn't like the stickiness of it. So it was water-based, so I could wipe it right off. And then I went back and I kept putting layers on of the black stain over the Java, which is the darkest stain I have other than black. I think it worked. It looks pretty good. It's not perfect, but I don't think anyone would really notice unless I told them. So I'll call that a success. Because my opaque stain wasn't going to work, I decided on chocolate brown to cover the sides and the top. And I really like how it turned out. It is a rich, deep brown, and it just looks like it belonged there. I'm really happy I didn't go with the black. I really like the brown. It's nice and warm, and it goes well with the stain on the front. Now, after I paint every layer, I use a finishing pad like I just showed you. That just smooths out all of the paint in between. Sometimes you get a little bit of what we call an orange peel texture, and that really helps. Now this fusion paint is a metallic copper, and I'm actually going over the gold that I put down originally because I just thought it just didn't work, and I think the copper works much better, especially with the hardware. Now what I'm doing, I've stained every area, and I'm going back and I'm touching up again all of those blotchy areas, building it up, and I think it helped a lot. I had to replace the legs because they were all split. They were completely water damaged. And I chose these legs. They were the closest thing I could find to what this originally had. And this wasn't done before. It wasn't even stained, but you can totally see this bottom with the bottom drawer. So I painted that. I decided at the last minute that hemp oil was a necessity for these drawers. They were just so dry and just so thirsty. So it was kind of fun to clean up these drawers. And then I decided to put the hemp oil on the front, and it really looks nice, doesn't it? Well, friends, that's all I have for you this week. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed finishing this project. It was a challenge, and there were times, you know what? I did enjoy every aspect of this. I do feel like I not failed, but I feel like I made a bad choice by using more than one stripper. I think overall it's a beautiful piece. It's not perfect, but I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. I wanted to keep the integrity of the piece. I wanted it to look old when I was done, but look refreshed. When I was putting the hemp oil on the drawers, I could just feel those drawers just drinking it up and feeling good. It felt good to give this old piece of furniture a big, long, cool drink of water, or in this case, hemp oil. I think this turned out really nicely. I hope that you learned something. I learned a ton. I am never using more than one stripper again on one piece. I can't wait for the next piece. I can't wait for the next antique. I can't wait for any piece that comes into my garage. Yes, I have a few right now, so can't wait. I want to thank you so much for being here. Really, I am so glad that you are watching my videos, enjoying my videos. Thank you for your comments. You guys are so kind, really. I have yet to get a nasty comment. That is not an invitation. Seriously, I really love what I do, and it makes it all that much sweeter when you like it too. Of course, you're the ones that make it possible for me to make any money at all. So if you haven't subscribed, please take the moment now and press that red button, because it does help me make money. And by you watching these videos, that also helps me make money. I'm not making much at all, not much at all, but it's a start, and I'm building my business, and I'm getting there. I'm over 1,500 subscribers, so hey, I'm getting there. It's got to happen somehow. Everybody started where I was, so anyway, I've babbled enough. Thanks for being here. See you next time.
You can do it.
A little different than all the rest. I'm quite old-fashioned, wear a hat, sometimes play chess. And when I'm out, I'm looking for that vintage fling. But all complexions that I adore, so hard to find, these seem impossible to score. So I dream on to someday